Hi, I'm Uncle Mark. Welcome to the channel. Working on a 2007 Chrysler Sebring. It's the same with the Sebring, the Chrysler 200, and the Dodge Avenger up to 2014. They're basically the same car. Changing the CV joint on the passenger side. Now this is a shorter shaft that pops into a longer shaft. You'll see if you look underneath. Anyway, it's the passenger side. That's all you need to know. I'm going to show you how I'm doing it and how I'm doing it without having to do an alignment. All the other guys are showing you ways to take it out. It looks easy, but then you have to pay. Here in Canada, I think I paid $150 Canadian for the last front end alignment, and this car was just done within the last 1,000 miles, I think. So I don't want to do it all over again. Show you how to do it. It's a little bit of monkeying around, but it can be done. So this is going to be a little different than maybe you've seen if you've been looking around. Not going to require a wheel alignment. I'm just going to show you where I'm jacking on this car. I guess you could jack there, but I'm going to jack somewhere that the jack can't slip off of. Probably going to use, just where this bolt is here, on the subframe. A couple different places I guess you could jack. That's where I'm jacking. Top right corner, you can see what a lot of the CV joints, if you're having trouble, will look like. This one's extreme. How big that boot rip is. A lot of times they're just ripped just a little bit, but the grease as it's turning starts flinging out till it gets so dry that it's metal on metal with no grease, and it just starts a knocking. You can see here where the jack is. I don't need to show you too much of that. You've probably jacked your vehicle up before. Be careful. Of course, you've probably done the same thing here. If anything, this shows you what a mechanic is going to have to go through. Of course, they're going to have a hoist with a lift or something. 19mm socket is what the tires are on these cars. I'm using a breaker bar. Nice one that doesn't really bend much. I had the wheel down a little bit so that I could, take these nuts off easily. So the wheel moving around. I guess that center hub right here, I could loosen them while the tire was down too, but I'm going to show you the way I'm going to do it. So of course, safety first. I'm sticking a jack underneath here, jack stand on another part of the subframe. That way, if I have trouble with the 5-cent little gasket that's in that floor jack, it'll just fall on that nice heavy-duty stand. This big bolt here, I'm going to lube it up a little bit to make it easier for it to turn. And I believe this is a 32mm socket. Now this is where, if the wheel was still on it, the tire, and was sitting on the ground, could have just loosened it a little bit. But it wasn't that hard to take off. I would have just loosened it, just break it free is the word, and then I would have jacked it up anyway. This is working fine. If it starts tightening up, I can just turn it back, tight a little bit more, spray it a little bit more. It actually came off pretty easy. That's a throwaway nut. There's a new one provided. Just going to give the old CV joint a couple of knocks. Sometimes they'll freely move in here. This one's going to take some effort. Not going to hurt anything, right? The CV joint is no good anyway. Now, this they usually don't do, but I'm going to take this tie rod end off. Tell you why in a minute. 18mm wrench. Actually, a lot of the Chryslers, a lot of the bolts and nuts are 18mm. So if you don't have an 18mm wrench, get one. I know I had a Dodge Charger a while back there, 2010, and I need to do some work on it, and that's the first time I've used 18mm. And then this 8mm is the bottom that I'm holding with the little ratchet. Otherwise, the bolt is going to spin, the tie rod end. Of course, I'm using a 6-point. You can see how it looks like there. Otherwise, it'll probably want to spin. Now, this is actually, just had this tie rod put in a little while ago. I'm going to spray a little more because it was a little bit tight. Get that off. Don't have to bore you with this too much. You can see it's not coming off the easiest, but that's okay. You don't want it falling off. This we'll want to keep. I'm going to just give it a tap down here. I guess what I could have done is not hit the tie rod, but hit the piece the tie rod's going into, and it might have just popped out on its own. That was gentle. Take that bolt off. I'm going to put it back on the tie rod so I don't lose it. Because you know how it is, these things get knocked around somewhere. So everybody else is going to show you to undo these bolts. No. They don't tell you, yeah, that's easy. But this bottom one is actually an adjuster that makes your wheel either bend in or out from the top to the bottom. So if you play with that, you're going to end up spending some money on alignment. I don't want to do that. I just had an alignment done on this car 6 months ago, and I haven't driven it maybe 1,000 miles. I don't know if this is a little more work or not, but I'm saving myself whatever the alignment costs, right? And I think it was $150 Canadian, I think, for a four-wheel alignment. And of course, they're going to want to do all four wheels because, well, that's what they do to you. I'm just trying to make it flush because I'm thinking I'm going to hit it from the bottom. Hoping I can get the ball joint to come out, to pop out. Now, a little secret here. I think it might actually be free, but I haven't noticed that. I'm expecting that when I hit the ball joint from the bottom, that it's going to actually move. So I'm slapping it on the side there. That's usually a good way to get it out. I'm going to do it from this side too. Sometimes you need a pry bar. I'm hitting it down here expecting, oh, it should fall quite a ways. I'm thinking, oh, this darn thing is stuck. It isn't, watch. It was probably loose all the time. Like after the first hit. I don't know what I was expecting. Now, of course, this is going to want to spin too, so I'm going to just try and grab it without wrecking the boot here with a little pair of vice grips. There is another, they expect you to use, I don't know if it's an Allen key kind of thing or what it is in the bottom, but I don't have it. It's not a torque. I'll show you. It's the same thing as the tie rod end where it's got a way to put a tool on it, but it's not a socket type. It's like instead of it needing a female tool, it needs a male tool. And I'll spray it a little more. And of course this fought me all the way. So I ended up using bigger vice grips, and that helped. Again, if I would have had the proper tool for the middle there, some kind of something like, it's not really a socket, because it'll be a male tool that goes inside. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll show you here and you'll go, oh, yeah, I understand what it is. Give you a little close-up of it. See how easy that moved away? Give us a few more taps. Might be able to push it with a screwdriver. A little bit of anti-seize on the new one will help. Probably for the next person, because I think I'm going to sell it. What you can do is give me the thumbs up. If you haven't already, please. That'll help YouTube realize I'm trying to do a good job step by step. Enough of that, back to the video. You want to see? Spoiler alert, I'm going to hurt myself here. Because I'm fighting with this stabilizer link right here. But I don't want to undo it. It's more work. Here we go. On my finger. It hurt. Here, I'll show you. Slow motion. I don't think I bled, but it hurt.
2 people.
As I'm screaming out there, yeah, if I had 2 people, that wouldn't happen. Now, if it was really happy, it would just pull out like that, but it's not going to. You usually have to go underneath, get a big screwdriver, and pry the inner CV joint. So I'm just taking a look here to see how this works. If I hit it on an angle here, there's really not a whole lot of room. If I can knock it out. It's got a clip that's holding it in. Oh, good. It's coming. I'll show you the clip after. Of guess I'm going to have to go back under again. I just can't pull that thing out of there, so I'm going to tap it a few more times. Does it come out now? So you can figure out how to get all your feet and everything around this. If I can grab the other CV joint. Some movement there, but come on. Should go under one more time. You may have to do that. At least you know what you're up against. If it's not coming out right away, it's normal. I'm just trying to jam the screwdriver between a couple things there. Oh, there we go. It was just about out. Come on. I'm tired already. I'm an old guy, I'm getting tired. There we go. Halfway there. Put it down on the ground. Look at the new one. Oh, I said I'd show you that clip. So this is actually an axle shaft that goes right into the transmission. So that's what you're trying to hook up to. Back to the CV joint here. These new ones. So it's actually a shorter shaft, I believe, than the other side. It might be the same length, I don't know. I'm just looking at the instructions there. They're saying this should take under an hour and a quarter. Well, I'm recording this too, so it's taking a little longer. But gives you some explaining here as to what might be symptoms. Especially if you looked under there and there's grease all over the place. If the boot's ripped open and it's spinning, there'll be grease on your lower control arm, just under the boot, and who knows where else. What I'm looking for here is how many foot-pounds to torque this nut on the end of the CV joint when we put everything back together. It comes with a brand new nut. There, you see it right there. That's what we need to know. I'm going to put some grease on it on both sides. I probably should have put anti-seize, but I didn't have any with me at the time here, but I've got some grease, so just so that it comes off easier. Probably for the next guy. Actually, I think we're going to be selling this vehicle. I just bought a Ford Flex. If you know anybody that has one of those, I'm going to have a whole bunch of videos on that. It's going to be a new playlist. It's been a really good car, though. Not very many miles in it. 42,000 miles. 2007. I'm recording this in July of 2022. So it should just, if you kind of turn it a little bit, it should just click in there. Of course, should. I say it should. Probably better if you know what's all going on inside there. So I'll show you inside here. There's a clip. And I'm kind of turning on this with this hand, turning everything left and right a little bit between the two. And I couldn't get it on there. I know it's that clip. So let's get nice and close. Show you what the clip is that I'm talking about. On that shaft. Show you from the top. See? On the end here. Right there. See the clip there? Now the clip is a teeny bit bigger than the shaft, so it can flop up or down depending on how it's sitting. If there's enough grease on there, you can kind of center it. And that's what I'm going to try and do. I'll show you up close. Remember the skippable chapters. If you don't need to see this, skip to the next part. See how it's kind of hanging down the bottom of the shaft? Here, I'll try and steady. Give me a minute here. I'll try and get a good location. And see, it actually can go up a little bit. There's enough grease there. It can go up. It can go down. So if you can center it, if not, put a little bit of grease on it. If it's hanging down when you put the shaft, see right there? Notice? You can go up a little bit. If you can center it when you put the shaft back in, it should be able to just kind of go over that clip there. Yeah, fairly easy. If not, take it off again. Maybe turn half a turn or something like that, or quarter turn. Try and stick it back on. Listen for the click right now. Oh, you might have missed it. Anyway, I heard it click, so it's clicked in there. It's good. Take this nut off. Special nut. That's why you don't reuse the old one. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on here too. Again, I should have used some anti-seize or something, but I'm just going to lube it a teeny bit. Somebody will probably be happy. I'm sure this car is going to last a long time for whoever gets it. Maybe in another 10 years they'll need another CV joint. Who knows? And this one will come off and they'll think, that was easy. And then they'll try and do the other side and wonder why that's such a fight. Well, I've never done that side on this car. Now if you try and turn the CV joint a little bit, maybe turn the rotor a little bit, like left, right, left, right. I'm going to try and turn it. It's not that easy to do because the brake's kind of holding it. There you go. Those splines will line up and it should just pop in. Stick this on. Don't want any grease on this. No grease. It's a special nut. If you take a look at that, it's got these little divots, or I don't know what you want to call them. They're punches so that when it screws on, because they're a little smaller than the hole itself, they grab on and it can't, in theory, back off or come out. I'm going to put the lower control arm back on first. I don't know what the torque spec is supposed to be for this. Oh, we see it spinning. So I have to put some pressure somewhere or something to get it to stop that. So I thought I'd, try and put pressure somehow, and I'll just tell you what I ended up doing in the end. None of that worked. Figure I'll put pressure from the bottom. Just a little bit of pressure on the control arm. That'll hold that ball joint from spinning. And it did. And it'll speed it up because you know how to put a bolt on, or a nut on. I just tried making it really tight. How's that for a spec? Really tight. I probably put it on tighter than it needed to be, but don't want it falling off, so tight. I was talking about that way to hold the shaft from spinning. There it is right there. Not really sure what it is. Looks like an Allen key kind of thing. I'm sure it's not, but I didn't have anything that would fit in there. My next step was putting the tie rod back on, bolting it in. Pop that in. Put the nut on as tight as it'll go. Of course, that middle piece is going to want to spin. So here again, we used that, I think it was an 8mm socket, and it's a 6-point. So it's going to grab very good. And just tighten it up really tight. And I figured, well, this is a new tie rod, and this is just supplementary. I figured I'm going to throw some grease in it because I don't think there was grease put in it when I bought it. I don't know how much grease was in there to begin with when it was new. Now, just going to snug this up a little bit. Remember, it has to be torqued on. There you go. So I torqued it to some lower value. It was probably 70 foot-pounds or something. I believe this has to be 118 foot-pounds on this exact vehicle. I would look it up just to make sure. I don't want this to turn. So here's the final. This is my 118 foot-pounds. Stuck the screwdriver in there, just then it doesn't move. And you can see how it is trying to. Just be easier on everything. There you go. Figured I'll just make sure. One more just. And it's torqued. Wheel goes back on. You know how that works. That's another thing that it should be torqued on properly. Again, I am not 100% sure what they suggest on these, so I'm going to probably make them too tight. I'm going to do 110 foot-pounds in a star pattern. I am betting they're supposed to be 100. I've seen some as low as 80, but then I've got a buddy with a GM and it's like 150. So who knows? Pull my emergency jack out of there for safety. Don't need that in there anymore. Pull the jack out, and you know what? I'm done. So it gives you an idea how it can be done and why I did it the way I did it. If you like the video, why not give me the thumbs up? You can subscribe down in the corner as well. And right here, just above the circle, a playlist for the Chrysler Sebring, the Chrysler 200, and the Dodge Avenger. Lots of videos there. I'm sure they'll help you out if you have one of these cars. You take care. Until next time, Uncle Mark saying bye-bye for now. Safety is your responsibility and should be priority number one. Also, give me the thumbs up if you like the video. Plus, please subscribe and you'll get all the notifications. It's easy. The little dog will show you how. Ring the bell. Ring the bell. For sure. Testing 1 through 2, 3, just testing height. Oh, wow. Amazing.